I have definitive proof that Tupac did not hear Who Shot Ya or know anything about the record prior to its release, according to what Little C said.
Pac knew about the record.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? He knew about Who Shot Ya. That's how long ago it was done.
In regards to that, let's get into some of the straight game.
Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, tell a friend. And also, if you would like to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and hit that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have broke the code on this one story that everybody keeps talking about in reference to Who Shot Ya and Hit 'Em Up, right? And I want you to really listen to this, because this is going to be the definitive proof that you need to know, because it's been said by so many people that Tupac, in fact, heard Who Shot Ya and knew about it before the record was released. And then somehow basically saying that Tupac was exaggerating, or basically insinuating that, you know, it was all part of some kind of thing that Tupac was actually trying to make up in regards to the record Who Shot Ya. That's what it seems like to me, right? But factually speaking, I'm going to show you right now with video evidence that Tupac did not hear Who Shot Ya before it was out. And that in turn made him write Hit 'Em Up and everything that came behind that. I want you to understand this. Check this out. So on Drink Champs, there's a video of Little C's. It was Jadakiss, Little C's talking to Nori. And shout out to all parties involved. But I had to bring this one to the forefront. Not based on what I'm saying, right? But based on the evidence and two people saying something similar but different, which reveals the truth, if you will. And the fact of the matter that Tupac did not hear Who Shot Ya or know about Who Shot Ya prior to it being released while he was in prison. And this is how you know. So on this particular video right here, Little C's basically says that Tupac knew about Who Shot Ya before the record came out, that he heard it before it came out. Listen.
So I always wondered
I think that's part what stopped him too.
But so you telling me Who Shot Ya? Who Shot Ya was not?
Nah, that record was done way before. You know what I'm saying? Like Pac knew about the record.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? He knew about Who Shot Ya. That's how long ago it was done. That record
but the timing was crazy when that record came out.
But that's what the confusion came from. It was just like, why would he put out a record like that at that time?
I'm not going to tell you that that's not true. I'm going to give you contrasting information and evidence, basically, where you can see yourself that that statement would not be true. I don't know who told Little C's that. I don't know if he heard or was in some kind of room with Tupac while Tupac was actually listening, but he didn't allude to any firsthand evidence to say that Tupac actually heard the record. But I'm going to give you some firsthand information from Keith Murray, in which you will know for a fact that Tupac didn't hear that record. Now, Keith Murray did an interview with the Art of Dialogue, right? And in the interview with the Art of Dialogue, Keith Murray basically states the fact that, well, I'll let him say it. Listen to this.
spearheaded the record. And then the Who Shot Ya was, Puffy called me to the studio for Mary J. Blige to do a song, a verse for Mary J. Blige. So I did a verse for Mary J. Blige and I did the record with Biggie. So Puffy took me off of Who Shot Ya and gave it to Biggie. That was Keith Murray spearheading that record. So Keith Murray was the first one on that record who made that record spark and gave the energy and the lyricism for that record to be what that beat is and what that record is. You feel me?
Now, you heard Keith Murray basically say that his verse was the first verse on the Who Shot Ya record. You heard him say that Puffy took Keith Murray's verse off of the record, right? And kept Biggie's verse on there to then release the record, right? So now, we know for a fact that Keith Murray being the first person on the record, and then Puffy taking him off the record, there was some kind of conscious decision to do that, right? I believe it was marketing. I believe, and all proof points to that Biggie, Tupac, the situation that existed at that time, Tupac in the Vibe magazine, Tupac being shot, Biggie starting the record with Who Shot Ya, separate the weak from the obsolete, right? You know, because Tupac at that particular time was saying certain things which I don't think he really knew to be true at that particular time, and that's just being fair to the situation, right? And he says as much to Keith Murray when they were at the House of Blues, and Keith Murray talked about Tupac approaching him, asking him, was he talking about Tupac, homeboy approached Keith Murray and Tupac was there and asked Keith Murray, was he talking about him in that song? Pause.
So I seen Pac. He was like, what up, my man? I was like, well, Pac was just walking around. And he was like, yo. And then his man bumped into him. He's like, yo, my man wanted to know if y'all was talking about him in that song. I said, who's your man? He said, Tupac. I said, oh, word? So Pac walked up. And he was like, his man was like this, standing like this. I said, and his man was here, and Pac was here, and I was here, and I was standing over here, like right over here. And I said, Pac, I just saw you. You didn't say nothing to me about that song.
You understand from that encounter, right, that Keith Murray has talked about on numerous occasions that Tupac didn't hear Who Shot Ya before the record came out. There's no way on God's green earth that Keith Murray would approach, that Tupac would approach Keith Murray and ask him about a record after Tupac was released from prison and they were at the House of Blues. Tupac would have no reason, if he heard the record and he's asking Keith Murray about his verse. Remember, Keith Murray's verse was the first verse on the record. He said basically he was doing the record for Mary J. Blige, right? So if his verse was the first verse on the record, why would Tupac go and ask him about his verse and ask him, was he talking about him on that record? If he heard the record before the record actually came out, there would be no need, which proves factually beyond any shadow of a doubt, not what I'm saying, but when you listen to what Keith Murray said and the fact that Tupac approached him, and like I said, this wasn't the first time that Keith Murray had told this story on The Art of Dialogue. He had talked about this on numerous occasions in numerous interviews. So we know for a fact that Tupac Shakur did not know about the Who Shot Ya record prior to it coming out, but heard it while he was incarcerated or shortly thereafter.
This industry, I turn your best friends into your worst enemies. Pac warned me, but I didn't believe him. This song was made months ago. He probably won't believe me. Maybe nobody will. But frankly,
that is a fact based on what Keith Murray's saying. He's not Tupac. If you heard the record, if Tupac heard Who Shot You, and he knew that the record was done prior to him, going to jail and getting shot in the whole 9 yards, there's no way on God's green earth that he would ask Keith Murray, and Keith Murray was the first person on the record, right? Was he talking about him on that record? If he heard the record. True or false? I need you to understand where I'm coming from with this information. And I would hope that, more importantly, you would take the time out sometimes not to just listening to what's being said to you, but listening to what's not being said. Once again, I put these two together. I was like, well, Keith Murray coming and explaining it on the Art of Dialogue, about Tupac approaching him at the House of Blues, says to me that Tupac didn't know about the record. And this was after Tupac got out of prison. Facts, man. Facts. So, like I said, I don't know where Little C's got his information from in saying that Tupac had heard the record and knew about the record prior to the record coming out. But according to Keith Murray, there's no reason for Tupac to roll up on him at the House of Blues and ask him, was he talking about him on that record if he heard the record prior to the record coming out? That's a fact. That's something behind the scenes that we didn't necessarily need to even know about from that perspective. Keith Murray just told the story. It wasn't something that he needed to conjure up. It was an incident that happened, right? And he decided to talk about it on the Art of Dialogue. And, Little C's in that same breath went on Drink Champs and talked about that and basically said that Pac knew about the record and Pac heard the record, which according to what Keith Murray said, would not be true. Yeah, chime in below, guys. Tell me what you think. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.